This week, we're going to talk about living in Florida, specifically Cape Coral, Florida. Getting after that next. Hey everybody, my name's Craig Cunha. I'm a real estate agent here in Southwest Florida. And if you're looking for a channel to tell you a little bit more about what it's like to live, play, eat, sleep, and buy real estate on the Gulf Coast, then this is the channel for you. So go ahead and subscribe, hit the little bell, make sure you're notified every time a new video comes out, and even leave a comment down below of some other things you'd like to know about. I'm getting calls from people every day asking questions about what it's like to live here and what steps they need to go through to make the transition. So if you've got a question that you need an answer to, you've got to call, text, or email because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast. First, I would like to say a huge thank you. I feel so blessed to be able to do these videos and be able to have these conversations with so many people. I'm learning even more about the area or reminded of things I might have forgotten over the years. I've been down here in Florida now for, going on 25 years between the East Coast and the West Coast. So much of the stuff that I've experienced through my transition, it got left in the past. But these conversations give me that aha moment. So thank you to all of you who have either reached out for a conversation or have made comments that I am able to respond to. Most of them are good comments, some of them not so good, but hey, I take them all. It helps me learn something along the way. Well, like I do every single time we do one of these videos, I want to give you a market update of what's going on right now in real estate in Cape Coral, Florida, and really much of Florida and possibly many areas of the country, especially when it comes to things like new construction and supplies. So first thing we need to talk about is the construction is still everywhere, and it's not just residential or commercial, it's everything all at once. Storage facilities going up left and right. We have a hybrid type of a storage situation we're going to talk about here in a minute. And just these new builds being done. There's communities now, and I found this out. Thank you, Colin and Teresa, once again for interjecting this information. But they were doing some visits to some communities in the area, and upon speaking to one of our bigger builders here, they were informed that, number one, prices start in the almost mid 300s in this community they were looking. And the prices increased $1,000 every week as a minimum. So that's something to look forward to, higher prices every week. And if you would like to build a home and want a pool on it, it would be at least $70,000 if they were doing pools. They're no longer putting pools on homes either, just because they can't get the supplies they need to put the pool on. So forget the pool in some cases. On top of this, some builders are also not offering appliances with the home. You get a credit towards appliances, but if you don't have those ordered in advance, how are you going to have your appliances? Refrigerator for your food, washer and dryer to clean your clothes. I mean, these are basic things. A range and a microwave to cook your food. You can't get those things with some builders. So keep your eyes open whenever you're walking into one of these new construction situations. Get somebody to represent you and help you out through the process, but be sure you're getting all these things because you're not going to be able to live normally unless you have those things. Now, with these delays, we're also seeing plantation shutters are out about 18 weeks right now. Furniture stores, if you just want basic furniture, you're 4 to 5 months out for things that you may want. Now, are there going to be things there that you could buy? Probably. Things that nobody else wanted. So that's your option. Or you can look in some of the consignment places, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. We are a very, very transient state here, so furniture does get moved around a lot. You may luck out, find something nice. I'd recommend looking in the Naples market. They seem to have some nicer things there. And prices on used things are just what they are. So go ahead, check those out if you can't find furniture, but otherwise you're 4 to 5 months out. I know first and foremost, on boat engines that they're really delayed. I was supposed to have a boat delivered in June of this year that it's still not here. We don't know where the engine is. It's supposed to be somewhere on its way somehow, but it's not. So delays are everywhere. This is just what we're going to be experiencing. Shipping is one of the big reasons I'm told. They can't get anybody to drive the trucks down with the supplies. We're starting to see this in some of the grocery stores. There's some shortages that you're maybe not going to be able to get everything you want when you want it. So keep that in mind when you're at the store trying to build up your supplies. Get the things that you want. Don't hoard them, obviously. It's not that kind of situation, but we don't know if you're going to have delays in when you're going to see these things again. So keep that in mind next time you're shopping. Something really interesting amid all this construction in Cape Coral is that we're now at the center of this huge apartment complex build-off, basically. So there's more than 1,000 units being put in right now throughout the Cape Coral area. That might sound like a positive, and it probably is to offer different options, something we haven't seen in decades around here. However, just in the last 30 days alone, the rent prices have gone up 4%. And it's been double digits over the last year. So we're seeing large increases of the rents. These extra places to go are nice to see and give options, but I don't know how good of an option that is as the prices continue to increase. Another thing that's kind of crazy here in Cape Coral is these car lines of the number of parents going to pick up their kids at school. I have to ask myself, we're not all realtors, right? We don't all have that schedule that just allows for that. So you got to wonder, what do all these people do? But these car lines are something that's going to be a potential nuisance if you live in these neighborhoods. Trying to navigate through these areas can be sometimes pretty difficult. So if you know this is something you don't want to deal with, make sure you're not choosing to live near one of the schools here locally. And back on that thing I was telling you about storage options, there are literally dozens of storage options now in Cape Coral. It got so bad that they had to order no further storage units on the main roads to serve as where storefronts would be. They now have to be behind other buildings because it's going to become unsightly. Well, aside from storage, because obviously no place to really put your stuff here. We don't have basements. You're not putting things in the attics because it's generally too hot there. So what do? You put it in a storage unit. And most times you're paying per month, right? Well, there's a new option. There's a place called the Caves here in Cape Coral. It's almost filled out, but there's some other projects that will be coming up in the future. So if you want to know more about these, just let me know. I'll get you the information. But these storage units, they were originally referred to as man caves because men have their cars and trucks and motorcycles and things they want to put away. Well, now it's just called the Caves. So if you're a woman, you can have one too. But what these people are doing is they're buying these storage facilities that can be 25 feet wide and 45 feet long. I mean, there's pretty substantial space in these. Some of them do have a second deck inside, so they're being converted into bars and other kind of play areas, and then keep the cars and boats and everything down below. But this is another way to store your things. And again, these are reinforced for hurricanes and things, so you could even use it as a fallout shelter if you had to, in the event that a storm was coming. But this is another option of where you can put your things when you're living in Cape Coral. Now, I've been in Cape Coral since roughly 2006, and I can tell you this, there are so many wonderful reasons to be here. Yes, I know I've made negative videos saying why you don't want to come to Florida and all that. That's just to show you it's really not that bad if you want to be here. But the beauty side of things, obviously we just have this tropical area that we live in here. We do put up with downpours and things like that. Hurricanes, we hear the threats of it. Most times we're not affected. But the beauty of the areas around us, not just the beaches here, but if you go north up towards the Venice areas, we went up to Bradenton the other day just as a little afternoon getaway. We took the motorcycle, went out State Route 17 to 70 out in Arcadia, and shot back across to Bradenton. We found this place called Oak and Stone sitting right on the water. Absolutely gorgeous, top floor establishment. And if you're somebody that's into beverages, specifically IPAs, even wine. This place, it was really cool. There's this wall just full of taps, and you can get wine or beer out of this. You put on a band, you swipe it over what you're choosing, and when you pour whatever beverage you're choosing, it counts how many ounces go in the glass. So you don't have to have a full pint. You can go half pint. You can do whatever you want. You can do halves of all the different beers up there. But it's just a great option. It's a self-service. You don't have to wait for anybody. And it's just a new concept with an amazing atmosphere. So again, Oak and Stone, Bradenton, check it out. As I mentioned, we have proximity to so many things. One thing I really love is being across the bridge from Fort Myers. Fort Myers is much more commercial, industrial, shopping kind of an area. There is plenty of residential, don't get me wrong. Lots of communities. If you're looking for a community, Fort Myers will be where you want to live, in most cases. But the nice thing about Fort Myers is everything is kind of packed together, a little more condensed. Obviously, you get to Fort Myers Beach by cutting through Fort Myers. You're going to get to the airports there. You're going to get to the interstate. A lot more shopping there. There's many things over in Fort Myers you can't get in Cape Coral. Cape Coral is more of a residential community. Lots of canals. So if you're a boater, that's probably where you're going to want to be. But having all this around you and easy access to it is just that much more of a reason you're going to want to live here. Now, one thing about Cape Coral, they've been known to be a little strict with things at times. We have code enforcement here, but I don't know if it's because of COVID or what, but they've really gotten lax on things. And it's funny, I mentioned this to Charles the other day. He's another client that I'm working with over in Fort Myers. He grew up in Cape Coral. And I mentioned some of the things that I've been seeing over here, and he was scratching his head, kind of confused. He remembered back when Cape Coral was super strict. You couldn't get away with anything. Well, I know when I first moved here about 2.5 years ago, I had a fine or a threat of a fine next time it happened in a stake put in my yard for my watering schedule. I was watering my lawn off the days and hours that I was supposed to. Yes, there's actually a schedule in Cape Coral of when you can water your lawn. I look out the window just about every day now, and whether it's raining or not, the neighbor a couple doors down, his sprinklers are going all the time. So where's the enforcement? I don't know. Same thing with the people with their boats. Some people respect the guidelines and they push it back to the back of the lot where they're supposed to. Others leave it in the driveway. Others leave it on the side of the road, on the easement next to the road, places maybe not supposed to be, and cars even park in the vacant lots where I had mentioned previously there was a new ordinance put into place that we're not supposed to do that. It could result in fines. Doesn't mean it's happening. Also, you'll notice some of the mowing around the area isn't done that nicely. You can drive to areas like Bonita and Naples and it's kept pristine pretty much most everywhere all the time. There's areas of Cape Coral that definitely will be taken care of, maybe a little bit better, but we're seeing some overgrown areas and it's probably due to shortages. We have shortages of workers just like everywhere else. In fact, I just got a notice today that there is a bus that runs on a normal schedule for the school that won't have a bus driver for 2 days. How would you like that to happen? You have a schedule, you send your kids off to school on this bus, and now you don't have one. They can't get a driver. So again, shortages everywhere. Just be prepared. If you see these kinds of things like the overgrown medians, it could just be the schedule. I know we get a ton of water this time of year with all the rain, so things do grow faster, but it's not kept quite as neat and pristine as you may like it. All right, we're going to talk about some property issues that are coming up. I go to my inspections with my clients just to kind of stay in the know, ask a lot of questions, find out some of the things that are either in new construction or some things that we should be a little more versed in knowing. And one of the things that happened the other day, a client had an issue with a shutoff valve. It broke. So I had the plumber come out and we're going ahead and taking care of getting it changed. In the interim, we had to turn all the water back on, and there was an odor in the water. It smelled like sulfur. It smelled like boiled eggs. This is normally what you get in the well water in many areas down here. This home wasn't on well water. This home is on city water. So you ask, why does it smell like sulfur? Well, the plumber was kind enough to tell me that if you shut off your water heater trying to conserve some money, that bacteria will grow in that tank and it will smell like sulfur. So if you don't want the bacteria in there, leave the hot water tank on. I really don't know how much the hot water tank takes up energy-wise over the course of time, but I can't imagine it's that much. And if you can avoid having smelly water by just leaving it on, might be something to consider. Now, another cool thing I learned the other day is they're using arc faults in your breaker box now versus the GFIs that we're customarily known to have. And this may not be new to some people, but seeing the different layout now in a box and the little purple markers on them, those are the arc faults. I had my electric go out the other day in a part of my home, and I'm looking frantically everywhere for the GFI button to push just to get it reset. And I tried different ones in different parts of the home because I know they can be tied together that way. It wasn't that. I eventually found out, because it didn't really look like it when I first looked in the breaker box, but one of these arc faults did trip. So once it was reset, obviously power's back on. But if you do not have a GFI in an area of your home, just know that the arc fault is going to be there and it's going to be in your breaker box. So you're going to do all your resets there in many cases. If it is GFI, it can be marked with white little tabs on the breaker for indoor, and then the yellow tab will be for outdoor. Now, impact windows and sliders are a big thing for us here because it does give you that sense of safety, both for storms and for break-ins and things like that. You'll notice the one thing about these windows and doors that really makes them stand out is if you tap on them, you're gonna hear a denseness in them. There's a thickness, and even on the sliders, there's a heaviness to it. So that is how you're gonna tell apart whether it has the impact glass or not. We are starting to use a lot more dual pane glass, so it will insulate well. I do have those on my home, and I can tell you with an electric bill that averages right around $100 a month throughout the entire year, regardless of how warm it is, they work pretty well. The other thing that helps keep these homes cooler is the radiant barrier. It's kind of like tin foil. It's put on the back side of the sheathing on the roof. I do have it on my home. There's also ridge vents and soffit vents that are put on these homes to just get all that hot air out of the attic so that it's not pressing down on the inside of your home and trying to come through ceilings and things like that. So if your home is staying nice and cool and you've got these dual pane windows or these impact windows, you're gonna notice a huge savings with your energy, and it's gonna be a lot more comfortable throughout the year. With pool safety, there's a couple things that you need to know. If you have a pool at the house, you will need two things. One thing's gonna be a 4-foot or higher fence outside protecting from anybody coming around the pool, or a pool cage. On the inside, you're going to need a child barrier fence, or you're going to need these little alarms that are attached to the doors. Either way, they take pool safety very seriously here in Florida. So if you have kids coming to the house, make sure you have something like this in place, especially if you know that they don't know how to swim. Okay, so that's a little bit more about what it's like living in Florida, specifically Cape Coral, Florida. If you've got any other questions about living in the area or living in Florida, check out one of these other videos. And if you've got a specific question you need an answer to, you've got to call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.